if the bias that I have, which comes from my family, is you're only valuable when you're hardworking. I think sort of as we're moving on to the second half of this conversation, just in terms of talking about bias, I think one of the other points that I really wanted to kind of rummage through is if we're talking, we're kind of talked about this initial conversation about being aware of our biases. Like, what are ways that we can engage those biases directly? So like one of the things that my dad and I have been doing recently, he's been reading a book about biases by a guy named Richard Rohr. And he really just sort of unpacks every type of bias that you could possibly have that define and your lived experience, your lived perspective. And in the process of sort of dissecting and auditing those biases, the goal is to become really cognitively aware of how you outlook your life and the fullness of it. But there's so many perspectives that are really deeply rooted that we may not even be aware of that we have. I think one of the biases that comes from my family is that you're only valuable if you're hardworking. And obviously I do value hardworking, but there was a sense of like you're only valuable when you're hardworking. Like your value diminishes the less hardworking you are. But then the part of that bias is the conversation of like, what does hardworking mean? It's like biases tend to produce action. So it's like and that usually is kind of in the form of words, but it also could be in the form of decision making and actions. And so like if the bias that I have, which comes from my family, is you're only valuable when you're hardworking, then I'm only going to put myself in positions that I perceive that I'm hardworking.
That's interesting. I think to see like the link between biases and value, and I think so much of what we perceive to be valuable is rooted in what biases we hold, which is also rooted in our upbringing.
Yeah.
And so I think going back to like, this topic of memories too, which we'll get into in later episodes, it's so key, so important, I think, to this conversation because it unlocks that key almost to like this door that opens up like, okay, what biases are in here? Because so often we keep that door locked and not want to visit it and just kind of go around wondering like, oh, why do I believe this? And just kind of take it for granted. When going into that door of biases really allows us to unlock the reason, the why behind why we believe what we believe.